They don't want to change doctrine. They want to change practices. They don't want to change dogmas. They want to change pastoral approaches. It doesn't actually change anything within the church, but it does shift the way we view the church's teachings on all sorts of things. And that's really the essence of the problem.
Yesterday, we saw this great article being put out. Edward Penton reporting in this case, John Paul II Academy calls for removal of Cardinal Fernández as Vatican's doctrinal chief. A member of the JP2 Academy joins us right now, Michael Hichborn, president of Lepanto Institute, lepantoin.org. Michael Hichborn, good morning to you. Thanks for your time today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Calling for Fernández's resignation. You know, this is also another story that's been come out. What's the story here, Michael Hichborn?
Well, the fact of the matter is that when you start looking over the body of, using the word body colloquially here, of Fernández's work, what you see is, what it reveals really is a perverse and twisted mind that has a very perverted view of theology, has a perverted view of human sexuality, and the use of the term over-sexualized is well applied here. But I can't see how somebody with such a fixation on human sexuality could possibly have clear vision and clear insights into the true teachings of the church. And to place such a person in charge of a dicastery that is charged with ensuring the maintenance and the guardianship over Catholic doctrine it's insanity, to be perfectly blunt. I mean, talk about an irony. The Orthodox actually came right out and said, look, fiducia supplicans could never be implemented by the Orthodox Church. They rejected it outright. And now Pope Francis puts its principal author in charge of or in a position at the Dicastery for Christian Unity, which is supposed to draw in the Orthodox Church back into fullness with the Catholic Church. And early on in Pope Francis's papacy, he at least made overtures to try and bring in the Orthodox. And now, by putting Cardinal Fernández in with the Dicastery for Christian Unity, he's just basically telling them, we don't care what you think. We don't care about your orthodoxy, so to speak. We are going to move forward with this agenda, and you are either on board or you're not. And that's not a way to approach Christian unity, especially someone who tends to be as syncretistic as Francis is.
The Africans pushed back in a mighty way towards fiducia supplicans, and I'm glad that they did. No other bishops' conference said, you know what? I'm getting on a plane and I'm going to the Vatican and we're dealing with this. The USCCB, how did they react to this story? I mean, they didn't push back like this. No one's pushed back quite to this level, don't you think?
To my knowledge, the USCCB hasn't said a word. The entire conference of the USCCB is just kind of blah about it. There have been individual bishops in the United States that have said certain things. Of course, McElroy was ecstatic.
I'm sure.
You know, and yeah, but you know, the reactions are just what you would expect. A smattering of, well, ho-hum, or gosh, this is problematic, or whoo, this is great. You know, it's there's this disunified approach to what they think about the document. But what I found interesting about Cardinal Ambongo, yes, he said this is from the article from Catholic World Report. The same day that the Holy Father received him, quote, "The Pope was very sad," Ambongo said. "I must say that he was the first to suffer from all the reactions that came from all over the world. He suffers for it because he is a human being. This doesn't make him happy." So it's very telling. I think that the statement that he gives, the description of his meeting with the Holy Father being very sad about the reactions, either indicates that the Pope expected everybody to just kind of go along with it and not give any pushback at all, or he's sad that there is pushback because he wants everybody on board with his agenda, or I'm not entirely sure how to take it, but to describe the Holy Father as very sad because there is now this division, didn't Pope Francis say that he would be the one who would divide the church? Isn't he the one who said that we have to make a mess and to go out and make a mess, and he wants that mess? And so I'm kind of curious as to exactly what it is he is sad about. I just find that description very, very interesting.
Kind of coming back to the resignation story angle on this, Fernández really ought to go, I think, from everybody's perspective, don't you? Completely
agree. I don't see how Fernández can have any kind of moral authority within the church given his background alone. But now, because he wrote this document and there is such widespread division in the church over it, it seems to me that it's near impossible for him to even implement a new document or statement and have anybody take it seriously. But here's another angle that people aren't really talking about. We have to remember the fact that in March of 2021, when the dicastery for the doctrine of the faith issued a statement saying there can be no blessings for same-sex unions because God does not bless sin, very shortly after that document was released, Pope Francis canned the cardinal that was in charge, got rid of him.
Wow.
And it's there are rumors that at the Synod on Synodality, there was a concerted effort to get blessings for same-sex unions removed from the approved decisions from the Synod. And so it seems very much, if you follow the sequence of events, that Pope Francis expected the Synod to approve it. It didn't happen. So he now has Fernández in place and has Fernández issue a statement. But now you have a diversion with or diversity with how it's applied or whether it's even accepted. And so you have doctrine that's not doctrine, a magisterium that's not unified, and everything is just kind of falling apart right under his nose. There's no unity on this at all.
At this stage of the game, in the current circumstances, you know, let's just say Pope Francis decides to give in to this. I don't think that's going to happen, but let's just say he did. And he removed Fernández. Do you have any idea whom he might place in that position? There's somebody we might kind of like? Is there anybody like that you think, that from your knowledge, that we might kind of like in that job?
Given the people that Pope Francis has surrounded himself with, I don't know that I would really trust any of the decisions that he makes to replace Fernández. You know, to be perfectly frank, it would probably be preferable to leave the office open and to have it say nothing for the duration of Pope Francis's pontificate.
Do you remember when Fernández first took the job and he made these statements about, hey, listen, we're just going to interpret it. Remember when he said that? I mean, isn't that what fiducia supplicans really is?
They're always going to be spinning things, and that's kind of the problem, is that they speak with imprecise language, so they allow for ambiguities. They use generalities to make a statement, to make a claim. I mean, if you read the grammar of fiducia supplicans itself, it's self-contradictory. The document itself is incongruous with itself because it's very poorly written, but they use this bad grammar in a manner that is going to make people think that the church has changed her doctrines or that the church has changed her approach to things. But at the end of the day, nothing has changed. Just the perception of it has changed. They don't want to change doctrine. They want to change practices. They don't want to change dogmas. They want to change pastoral approaches. So it's all smoke and mirrors. It doesn't actually change anything within the church, but it does shift the way we view the church's teachings on all sorts of things. And that's really the essence of the problem.
But this is a guy who clearly struggles. This is a guy, I mean, I said this before, I'll say it again. If I didn't know who wrote that book, if I didn't know who wrote the kissing book, if I didn't know who wrote all this stuff, if he was anonymous, I would have told you this man was addicted to pornography. I know because I was addicted to pornography for 21 years, and I know exactly how these people think and act and talk because I was, until God set me free from it. And it just boggles the mind. This is not about right or left politics within the church. This is about right or wrong. And no matter who you are, where you are from, if you are Catholic, you ought to believe this is wrong and the man ought to lose his job. Don't you think, Michael?
Well, yeah. I mean, let me put it this way. If we take it out of a Catholic context for just a moment and think about it in terms of security, 20 years ago, I worked for a company. I had to get my top secret security clearance. I sat for several weeks waiting for my security clearance. I know about the interviews that took place, and I know about the background check that they conducted in order to clear me for the job that I was looking to get. I was trained in open resource analysis by one of the top, or actually the inventor of open source resource analysis for the naval intelligence community. So I understand what is involved in looking for security measures, looking for red flags that are, potential inroads for a bad actor to get through the security measures. So I know what it takes to ensure the integrity and security of any operation. So when I see what's going on with Cardinal Fernández, and this goes back to my research in CRS, my research in the CCHD, and looking at the personnel that they have on board, and looking at the kind of grants and partnerships that they forge, and saying, look, this is a security risk. You have a serious security risk with partnering with this organization or hiring this individual because of X, Y, and Z. When I look at Cardinal Fernández, he's not just a security risk. He's actually, I would say, just going through his background and the things that he's written, he's working for the other side. He's not working for the church, because the things that he says are blasphemous, they're sacrilegious, they're perverted, and it shows that he does not have the true interests of the church and orthodoxy at heart. He has some other agenda. Just looking at the things he's written alone reveals this. So in terms of where he is in his position, he doesn't have the interest of the church at heart in issuing any statement with regard to orthodoxy, the defense of the doctrine of the faith, which is his job. So it's a very serious problem, and he has to go for that very reason alone, not because he's causing disunity or division within the church. That's a secondary element. Everything comes down to the fact that he himself is a security risk.
Did you like that video? It's okay. You can admit it. It's perfectly fine. Hey, we cover the big stories of our day, from inside the church to outside the church to all points in between, and we do it from a Catholic perspective. It's called A Catholic Take. It's a radio program Monday through Friday. We live stream it right here on this channel, by the way, so make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We would be very grateful to you. And don't forget, you're going to want to watch this video right here because you don't want to miss anything.